It is your host, E.I. Smith. Today's date is Monday, June 24th, 2019. The time is 9:41 a.m. I am on Westport St. Lucie Boulevard at the baseball fields and park just adjacent to the Port St. Lucie Library. I'm going to get some gang stalking caught on camera for you this morning. Be looking for synchronized obstruction of movement, synchronized space crowding, and abundance of public service vehicles and other obstructive gang stalking activity. Let's go. And right as I say that, here's our first public service vehicle. It's synchronized gang stalking activity, ladies and gentlemen. I opened this video with a conversation that I had with a gang stalking groundskeeper who is nowhere to be seen now. And why is he nowhere to be seen? Because he accomplished his mission of successfully harassing me. So I was in the bathroom washing my face and shaving, and he opens the bathroom and says he's going to call the police on me because he quote unquote knows what's going on here. And I don't know what he was talking about, but he said if you're not out of the bathroom in 5 minutes, I think he said he was going to call the police on me. So I asked him for his name. He said it wasn't important. And I asked him, do you work for the city of Port St. Lucie? And he said he did. And I said, then I have a right to know what your name is. And he refused to tell me his name, so I looked on his shirt and I started recording. His name was Fazal, F-A-Z-A-L. That is an Oriental name. He's probably Pakistani or Indian. Which factors into this because it goes to show that, okay, and there are cars here that look very suspicious. As I'm walking down the street here, there's a giant cluster of vehicles just following me. And I'm pretty sure that any number of them were responsible for that call. See, here's the thing about gang stalking, as we see some synchronized space crowding there. Here's the thing about gang stalking. You can pay a person to gang stalk. It's not just all a bunch of quote-unquote concerned citizens using moves, gestures, symbols, signs, and verbiage to communicate with one another. There's much more to this thing than I could possibly know because I'm not on the inside of gang stalking per se. And there's a police vehicle right there. Not as sure exactly what's going on over there, but as I said before, public service vehicles are strategically placed around the targeted individual, period. There's some, okay, and now the police is moving about. There's really no telling what he's doing, but it's not a coincidence that the very second I get here, now this police officer is all of a sudden very active. I got about 6 minutes of recording time left. I'm on my way to the Pruitt campus library. I'm not going to have enough battery life to catch the entire trip, or excuse me, not battery life, but storage time to catch the entire trip. But I wanted to get Fazal on camera because that man is a gang stalker. And I'm going to tell you something too. A lot of this has to do with Miamians who have access to my Facebook page. I've lived in Miami for about the last year, the Miami Beach area, and I ran into some people that were very much into gang stalking, and unfortunately it took me a while to figure out exactly what their mechanisms were, but their mechanisms were my Facebook page and my Pinterest account. These stalkers had access to my Facebook and Pinterest because I used one of their smartphones to log in and forgot to log out. And they were doing very derogatory things on my social media account in my absence. And apparently they forgot that they had access to my Facebook and Pinterest accounts. And when I saw them next, the first thing I did was check the phone and see if I was still logged in, and I was. So I logged out of my Facebook and logged out of my Pinterest accounts, and I just feel so much better about my social media presence now. And mind you, they weren't doing any work on my Facebook or Pinterest accounts. I'm the founder and sole proprietor of EIS Media Group, Bible Discourses LLC, and all related online and business entities related to these groups. And I am the sole decision maker and sole poster of any content that goes on these sites. So they weren't doing anything work-wise, but I do think they might have performed derogatory searches on my accounts to try and make my accounts look mischievous to Facebook and Pinterest. So I've already sent letters to Pinterest concerning this. I haven't sent letters to Facebook. They're a little tougher to get a hold of. But these people down in Miami, these are the kinds of people that they are. They are sabotage agents. They are liars. I'm actually of the mindset, if you look at the Gang-stalking in Action Part 2 video that I have up on Twitter, and this is the live video series, not the Facebook edition, but if you look at the Gang-stalking in Action Part 2 video I have up, you'll see where the police are called on me for waving a gun around in a Publix grocery store and then putting it in my book bag. That is a lie, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you who I suspect of making that phony police call. And here's our next public service vehicle. As I said before, and as I've said in many videos, an abundance of public service vehicles, including police, fire, ambulance, and many others are a hallmark of gang-stalking activity. Also, jerks like that Fazal guy who work for the city, that's a public service vehicle that he pulled up in. Okay? So, if you can identify with what I'm saying, if you believe what I'm saying about the gang stalking activity that's around me and that's being perpetrated on me, that Fazal guy should take the cake for you. He's a public service employee. He was in a public service vehicle. He busted in the bathroom. He said that he was going to call the police on me for shaving, saying that he, quote, really knows what's going on. No, he's a gang stalker, a fool, and somebody probably paid him to do it, one of these gang stalkers out here. But anyhow, I believe that one of those ignoramuses down in Miami that know my Facebook web address, I think what they're doing is they're looking on it daily, seeing what city I'm posting from, and calling the police in that city on me, making up false reports about me. That's what I think is going on, and it's all coming out of Miami. But police appreciate people that call them, even if they're calling them making trouble, so they probably won't. And without embellishment, that night, I developed a strep throat and was sick for the next 7 to 10 days. I've had that happen to me on 2 occasions, where for 7 to 10 days I was sick as a result of a very sick person with some sort of a communicable disease sitting down next to me at that library, yawning, and as a result of that yawn, I became sick, very sick, for a very long period of time. 7 to 10 days is a long time to have a strep throat. Trust me, it's very, very irritating. Now keep in mind that there are communicable diseases that can be communicated through the air. Not every disease has to be communicated because somebody that was sick touched you, or you happened to kiss somebody that was sick, or somebody that was sick ate something and gave you a piece of it, or you happened to eat or drink something off of somebody that happened to be sick. That's not how all diseases are spread. There are diseases that can be spread through the air. A person who is very sick yawning near you, breath carries moisture, and moisture carries bacteria. Somebody coughing near you, somebody sneezing near you, somebody who is very sick talking in your face for a extended period of time can result in you getting sick. Bacteria travels through the air very easily. And keep in mind that bacteria is microscopic. You can't see it with the naked eye. You have to use a high-powered magnifying device to see bacteria. And it weighs almost nothing. So they can travel through the air very easily. And there are a lot of diseases that get communicated from party A to party B through the air. That's a lot of what gang-stalking is, making the targeted individual sick. So that they have to miss work, so that they have to miss class. So that they'll be less than what they could be. I regularly encourage my viewers to look at the Fox 45 ABC 22 interview that I did on March 5th, 2017 at 7 p.m. with Fox 45 News reporter Siobhan Anderson and her camera guy. They came over to my house, which was located at 2077 Lakewood Drive in Dayton, Ohio, as we see our first instance of synchronized space crowding. Again, that can only happen to a person so many times before they realize it's a derivation. I come to a driveway, there's a car coming. And it's never, and here's another instance of synchronized space crowding right here. I come to a driveway, there's a car that just happens to be coming. That is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that is a derivation. That is something that is done to irritate, annoy, impede, and crowd the space of a targeted individual. And those are timed and synchronized so that it cuts you off. Those two people did not make those maneuvers 5 minutes or 10 minutes before I got to the driveway area. They happened the split second that I got to the driveway. That's when they had to be coming. I'll tell you why those morons do that. They do it because they want their vehicles to come in close contact to you. They want their vehicles to get in the closest vicinity possible to you to maximize your discomfort. See, 4 or 5 driveways up, if a car were to turn into that driveway right now, and here's some more. Again, I come to a driveway, there's a car coming. Those are synchronized, and mind you, public service vehicles like the one you see behind me, that's a trolley. Those are a part of gang-stalking. Now, having said that, I'd like to get back what I was talking to previously. Now, when it gets right down to it, gang-stalking, and here's another instance of synchronized space crowding, obstruction of movement. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is derived, it's timed, and it's synchronized. Those maneuvers are designed to do nothing but impede the space of and harass a targeted individual. I was at the Bell Harbor shops last night. You saw some synchronized spacecrowding there too on my Facebook edition. I presently have 7 Gang-stalking in action Facebook edition videos up on my Twitter page and 30 Gang-stalking in action originals on Twitter. I'd like to re-emphasize that I do all of my online work myself. I do no collaborations. I also do all of my videos on gang-stalking myself and do no collaborations. Everything I do online is original, self-made. And the work of my own consciousness. It's easier for me that way because I have a very clear vision of what I want EIS Media Group, Bible Discourses, and my entire collection of online and social media presences to be. And I have envisioned it on my own. I maintain it on my own. Some synchronization. It's not always cars. Sometimes it's pedestrians. 9 minutes left of recording time. As you can see, I have the right of way. Crosswalk lights from here to Aventura that do not work. I'm starting to think that this is one of them, where if you want to cross the street, you have to jaywalk. Okay, they fixed it. Last time I was here, I was waiting for 5 minutes. After the light had turned red for cars going north and south, this light still didn't turn. So they fixed it. But there is a crosswalk light on 196th Street in US 1, right next to Aventura Mall, that has been broken for over a year. Synchronization can be described as suspiciously coincidental movements by the gang stalkers when I myself make a move. Now you notice, just since I've started filming, we've seen 3 instances of the systematic obstruction of my movements. As I began walking, someone came toward me. As I began to progress, someone marched out of the porta potty. As I continued to progress further, 2 people walked out of nowhere, cutting me off and obstructing my path. Those are synchronized movements, and it's gang stalking activity. Now, the 2 men that you just saw veer off to the left just pulled what I call a move. They accomplished their feat of obstructing my path and then immediately got out of the way. That to me is suspicious. It's too coincidental to be normal pedestrian activity, and I call it gang stalking. I'm gonna take a walk down Washington Avenue, heading south. To demonstrate more of this activity. Mind you, in previous videos, I said that you will see an abundance of taxis when I do these videos. There's one going north, one going west, and one going south, all in a synchronized fashion. You can rewind that back and look at it if you so choose. And here's another one coming. I've said in previous videos that taxis are semi-law enforcement operations, and they can be looked at as mobile security guards. Mind you, it's not to protect the targeted individual, it's to protect the gang stalkers, as all law enforcement and semi-law enforcement entities in gang stalking operate. And here are 2 more taxis coming. Okay, that's something that you'll see an abundance of. And there's no light here, so I'm going to cross. That was synchronization. Notice how that light is out. See how that light is out, that walkway light, that pedestrian light, it's out. It does not work. And there is not one to be found on the other side of the street. So if somebody wants to walk across this walkway, they have to go off of their judgment. And you saw as soon as I made my move, the cars going southbound on Collins immediately began going. That's synchronization. I'm going to tell you something. These stoplights, they're being manually operated by gang stalkers. Now, I was going to save stoplights and pedestrian lights for another video, but that was a prime example of what I like to call advanced gang stalking tactics. Gang stalking is not just pedestrians and drivers obstructing your every move and crowding your space and annoying you. Gang stalking is much deeper than that. It includes public works, all public works, stoplights, construction, sewer, landscaping, and a whole host of public works operations. Yes, stoplights are a part of gang stalking. And stoplights can be very easily manually operated by city workers. Now, in a good city, in a responsible city, stoplights are placed on a timer, meaning that there is a specified time for them to be green, a specified time for them to be yellow. As we see more synchronized space crowding, again, I come to a walkway and there's a car coming. These are not coincidences. They stop being coincidences when they happen to you everywhere you go. It starts becoming gang stalking at that point. Gang stalking can be, in many respects, described as destructive, disruptive, and constant coincidences. Now, stoplights are supposed to be automated. They're supposed to be computerized, and they're supposed to be on a timer. There's a specific time for them to be red, a specific time for them to be yellow, and a specific time for them to be green. All depending on the street and the level of traffic on that street. When a TI is on the move, be it in a car or as a pedestrian, the stoplights are manually operated so as to annoy the targeted individual. More synchronization. 2 trolleys in a row, the South Beach Loop A and the South Beach Loop B. That's not supposed to happen. Trolleys have different paths that they go, and they have very specific time schedules that they have to keep. Okay, here's some more synchronized space crowding. I'm trying to walk across this walkway, and just as I'm walking across the walkway, a single solitary vehicle is right there to cut me off. I was able to get by that one, however. Now with gang stalking, the TI's movement is ground zero for the gang stalking activity. So it's not as if the gang stalkers are just going about their business carrying out various operations on their own time. Gang stalkers take cues from other gang stalkers when to move. The gang stalkers themselves may or may not know that there's a TI coming, but they just take the cue and they move on it. They act on it. But see, the cues are so perfectly timed that they always result in the systematic obstruction of the targeted individual's movements. Now with stoplights, they can be either automated or manually operated. And understand this too. Automated stoplights are more responsible and they're much safer. However, they can be manually operated too. And furthermore, stoplights can be hacked. Yes, you heard that right. Stoplights, okay, lights on any street can be hacked the same way that a computer can be hacked. And A targeted individual can be systematically obstructed and put in danger by gang-stalking hackers that hack the stoplights to obstruct the targeted individual's movements. And I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a speed trap on Washington Avenue. We're on 21st and Washington. Let's say there's a speed trap and there's a police officer with a radar gun right here in this area. A stoplight hacking gang stalker has the ability to turn a green light yellow and a yellow light red quickly and efficiently and with pinpoint accuracy to where a targeted individual driving will be forced with the decision to either slam on his brakes or run a red light. Yes, a run red light can be systematically engineered by stoplight hackers. And if there's a police officer right here, and again, a police officer can be staged. A police officer encounter can be staged. And we see that very clearly in my own situation with gang stalking in Gang-stalking in Action Part 2. That's on Twitter right now. I encourage you to watch the entire 18-minute video. So let's say that an officer is here in this area with a radar gun, and I'm driving southbound on Washington. A gang stalker can turn a green light red in a matter of seconds, forcing the TI to make a decision. Slam on your brakes and risk damaging your car, or run a red light in front of a police officer that's sitting right there at the intersection. It's lose-lose. However, most drivers would probably run the light if it just turns red and they have no other option, forcing the targeted individual to potentially get pulled over by a police officer. Understand, the police and police encounters are often staged in gang stalking. We saw that in Gang-stalking in Action Part 2 in my own situation. Police encounters can be forced, and the targeted individual is constantly thrust into situations, not only when he's out and about, but when he's driving, to encounter police officers in what are less than positive situations. As we see another taxi. Now, here's one reason why taxis are so peculiar to me in gang stalking, besides always being in abundance, similar to some of the other vehicles I've described in previous gang stalking in action videos. It's because they're not lucrative anymore. Taxi companies, now, mind you, I'm of the impression that some of them are commissioned by the city, meaning that they collect city funds to help them operate, which helps keep them in business. But for the most part, and from a private sector perspective, taxis are no longer lucrative. With the advent of Lyft and Uber, and here's another one coming, taxis are, in my opinion, obsolete. Because Lyft and Uber are extraordinarily convenient with the apps that they offer smartphone users, and with their exceptionally low prices, obviously depending on where you want to go, but they're considerably cheaper than taxis. To the point that I'm surprised that taxi companies even exist anymore. But a targeted individual sees them in abundance, along with police cruisers, fire trucks, EMS, and various other vehicles that I've described in previous videos. It's because all of the above, and we actually saw a USPS truck earlier as well, have semi-law enforcement duties. They're mobile security guards. They keep an eye on the streets for the police, who are knowingly or unknowingly made into the mortal enemy of the TI. Gang stalkers set targeted individuals up for negative police encounters so that the police can pad their arrest records and pad their number of citations issued per year. Without gang stalking, and I guarantee you this, car crashes would go down considerably. Police encounters would go down considerably. Arrests would go down considerably. Speeding tickets issued would go down considerably. Red light tickets would go down considerably. Gang stalking puts people in unfair positions. Namely, positions that make them appear to be committing crimes, fostering bad experiences with law enforcement officers. Furthermore, if a targeted individual goes to a law enforcement officer or a police department to report something or to file any sort of a complaint or police report, their endeavor 100% of the time goes unrewarded. Whatever gang stalking is, whoever ultimately pulls the strings, whoever sets this thing in motion has United States local police operations in a chokehold. That's what leads me to believe that it has roots in law enforcement operations as well as corporate operations and church operations. These three entities have always manipulated police relations with the community to achieve their own goals. Police officers are used as foot soldiers by gang stalkers. And again, I don't mean street level gang stalkers, although they can cause quite a few problems for a targeted individual with the police too. I'm talking about the upper echelons of gang stalkers, the orchestrators of it. They involve the police and manipulate the police and use them as pawns against a targeted individual. Me, myself, since I turned 16 years old and got my license, I've been issued in excess of 20 moving violations and upwards of 32 of them, all of which I have documented, ticket numbers and all due to gang stalking operations, synchronization, and the use of overzealous police officers in a gang stalking vortex. As we see another taxi. Mind you, taxis these days only serve one, maybe two purposes. Because if you notice, the taxis all have advertisements on them. So that's one way they stay in business, because they sure ain't getting that many calls for rides as expensive as they are. So taxis sell advertisements to local companies and national companies. As we see a police vehicle, that's gang stalking, it's synchronization. I get to the intersection and all of a sudden I see police officers. Check out Gang-stalking in Action Part 2. I can't emphasize that enough. To see how synchronization works with police. That one just drove by. The one in Gang-stalking Part 2 did not. See a metro bus here. An abundance of taxis and public works vehicles are a hallmark of a gang stalker. Now, mind you, these public service vehicles are always present as a TI makes a move. That cop just happened to be driving past as soon as I get to 17th and Washington? No way. As we see another taxi, we've probably seen about 12 of them so far, and here's 2 more coming. They serve as advertising vehicles for local and national companies, and they are also mobile security guards. A taxi driver will call the cops on you so fast your head will spin. That's their go-to mechanism, is calling the police on people, if anything happens. It's like a taxi convention, but a TI always sees these vehicles everywhere, just in case they have to call the police on them for anything whatsoever. You kneel down and tie your shoe too fast, they'll call the police on you. That's part of the gang stalking mechanism, to instigate police encounters and to constantly and persistently obstruct the path of the targeted individual at all times. Watch this guy here coming. Watch how close he gets. See, there's plenty of space on this walkway. But he chooses to walk so close that he nearly bumps into me. That's synchronized obstruction of someone's personal space. And this is something that you'll see a lot too. You see how this bus just swerved over in front of me? And here's another police vehicle. Okay, those people just walked so close to me you couldn't even see them. That pedestrian light at the end was demonstrating that the pedestrian had the right of way. Just as that light turned, a giant bus just flew around the corner. That's synchronization, that's gang stalking. Again, public works vehicles are a gang stalker's dream because they have the authority of the state. They have immediate access to law enforcement if they're not law enforcement themselves. They have guns, and they're considered a safe gamble in gang stalking activity. If you're going to tell somebody to do something obstructive, you stand a better chance of being able to accomplish that with a public service vehicle or employee, because they're all either law enforcement or semi-law enforcement, and they're able to do things like what you just saw with impunity a lot of the time. I have 5 minutes of recording time left, okay? Here's another public service vehicle coming. More gang stalking. Excessive honking of the horn is something else that you'll see in gang stalking. People honking their horns at you excessively or for whatever reason. Get an aerial view of me and what's behind me. A targeted individual is never alone, but it's not by people who want to be his friend. It's by gang stalkers who are being directed by gang stalkers who are their superiors. Just as I arrive, a bus arrives. That synchronization. Again, public service vehicles, public works employees. There's another fire truck. Okay, and another taxi. One that has no advertisements on it. It's synchronization. This is something I always saw in Dayton. When I was living in Dayton, motorcycles driving past with very loud pipes, Harley Davidsons. And the guys on them had the typical Harley Davidson look. Jeans, dark shirt, cut off at the sleeve, a jean jacket with the sleeves cut, black shoes, black sunglasses. There are a lot of police officers and sheriff's deputies that roll with the Harley Davidson crowd. I'm not saying that the motorcycle crowd, namely the Harley Davidson crowd, are into illegal activity, but we know about the Hells Angels and the Latin Kings and some of the more notorious biker gangs that have existed and some of the stuff they were into. And some of the political beliefs that they held. Some of it is just downright bizarre and unseemly. About a minute and a half left of recording as another taxi pulls up. Again, taxis serve two purposes. One is advertising.